Hi, my name is Matthew Juneau. I am the president of the nonprofit The Echo Film, which aims to highlight the work people and places do that work with animals by producing videos for them. Today, I am here with friends at the Bluff. We are starting our hike at 57th and Hatch, and we're going to be hiking down into the Bluff, and I'm going to be sharing some of my animal expertise and seeing what kinds of animal evidence we can find here today. So follow me. So there is a great quote by a naturalist, Aldo Leopold, and he says that the things that are hoped for have a higher value than the things that are assured. Now, I think this is especially the case with wildlife because they are wild animals, so you can't always plan where they're going to be or when they're going to be. So while we're out here today, we're being hopeful that we get to see some wild animals, but we're going to be putting on our detective hats and looking for some of the evidence that these animals leave behind in the area. So I know a lot about animals, but there are still a lot of things that I don't know. So one thing that I always do when I come into the area, whenever I'm hiking, is I hike with a field guide. So that way, if there is some sort of mystery on what something is, I can turn to the field guide and help solve some of those natural mysteries. So another thing that I love to do while I'm out hiking is to just take a second and turn on my ears, turn on my eyes, and see if I can find anything while I'm just standing still. So this is a great example that it doesn't really look like very much, but all of this is soil that a pocket gopher has. While it's moving all around, it pushes it up to the surface. So this is called an esker, and this is part of the evidence that a pocket gopher leaves behind. And they're fascinating creatures because they spend almost all of their life underground. So you almost never see a pocket gopher, but this is a great example to know that some of them are in the areas. And another thing that you can do while you're out here is just listening. So you might hear sort of the chittering of some of the pine squirrels that are marking their territory and saying, hey, this is my area, you don't come over here. But there's plenty of things if you just stop and look and listen, that evidence of animals will present itself. So these trees all around in this area are ponderosa pine trees, and they're all at different stages in their life. So you can see ones that are really small and thin, and those are the younger ones. Most of the forest around us are nice, healthy trees. Now, on a ponderosa pine tree, like our friend here, you might see all of these little holes that are in the bark of the tree and wonder, what are those from? And these are a great piece of evidence to know that there are woodpeckers in the area. Now there's a couple different species of woodpeckers. There's the downy and the hairy woodpecker. They look very similar, but the largest species that we have of woodpeckers on the bluff is going to be the northern flicker. And they will make these holes when they are looking for bugs that live just underneath the bark of these trees. And while you're hiking around, if you keep your ears on, you might even hear some of the drumming of those woodpeckers banging their heads against the trees, leaving all of these little holes, looking for a nice tasty snack. So the bluff is in great habitat to be able to come through because animals will use this environment all year round. So in summer, it's a great time to get out and see some of the birds that use this area. You might hear the gobbling of the south-billed turkeys as they walk through the trails here. But animals tolerate the winter and are active throughout it. And a great thing that I like to do when there's a fresh snow is to come out the morning after and to walk through, and you can see some of the different trails that animals leave behind. So you can see the mice that live all throughout the winter and stay underneath the snow to survive. And you can see the squirrels that travel between trees. So the bluff is a great place to be able to come out to year round. So a lot of animals will actually use the trail systems that are part of the bluff. So the large animals like deer and even moose will come through, and it's the most efficient way for them to move through the area, just like it is for us. So don't be surprised if sometimes you see some of those large mammals moving through here. And if you keep a sharp eye out, you might even find some of their droppings that they leave behind. Now, with those large mammals moving through, often what follows them are some predators. So black bears and mountain lions have both had sightings at the bluff. And if you ever see one or you're in an encounter with one of those animals, the things to remember are that you want to stand tall, you want to raise your arms and appear as big as possible, you want to make a lot of noise. If you have something on you to throw, like a water bottle, you can throw that towards the animal. If it progresses to that point and an attack does happen, you want to remember to fight back. The goal is essentially that you want to show the animal that you are not a worthy meal. They might get harmed if they are attacking you. And there's been reports of people even fighting off those animals because they decide, well, it's not really worth it. I might get hurt and I need to not be hurt to continue living. So they will leave. Most of the time, though, the animals often give people a lot of respect, and as long as you respect their distance, those encounters don't really happen. Often the mountain lions and the bears will leave and give you space first. They're also most active when human activity is low, so at nights. But if you do see one, give it plenty of space, respect the animal, but you don't need to be afraid of it. And you can often leave with a really great story and an encounter to share with friends and family. So this is an example of a plant where some insects like to be. So in these little pods, in some of them, when you open them up, you can find little tiny worms that are in there. Oh, does this one have one? I think it does. Yeah. Here's a little worm friend. So this was something I was just trying to get to know the environment a little better and figure out what type of plant this was. And so I wanted to open up the pod just to see if that would help ID this plant. And in doing that, I found that there was this little bug. So this is a great example of an animal that I don't know. So this would be where I would pull out that field guide and see if that might help me identify what plant this is. And then maybe that helps reveal what type of bug this is, or it's something that I can then go home and do a quick little Google search and help learn more about our little friend here. So there are a couple of things here that I wanted to show you, and they fit the same theme, which is that the bluff is a great place. It's a fantastic environment. It's nice to be able to come here to recreate, to relax, and just get out into nature. But it's important that we respect it while we're here, and so leaving no trace is a big part of that. So there's a little saying that you should take only pictures, kill only time, and leave only footprints. Now, one thing while we are looking out for our animal evidence is you might see a feather that might be dropped from a bird flying around here. Now, even though these feathers look really, really cool, and it's awesome to pick them up and take a look and see if you can identify what type of bird it came from, but it's important that these feathers stay in the environment. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is that there is a little piece of trash here. So I like to, whenever I come out into these natural places, try to pick up one piece of trash as sort of my price to ride the bluff that day. And my hope in doing that and by spreading that message is that if every person that came to the bluff picked up just one piece of trash and took it up to the dumpsters up at the top, that the bluff can be a great environment that can be around for a really long time and enjoyed by everyone that comes through and everything that lives here. Once you know what to look out for, you'll find animal evidence everywhere. So even though we're just along this main trail here, there's plenty of evidence around. So you can see right here, it looks like there's kind of a groove that's in the soil, and then you can see all of this loose soil that's coming down. So this is actually an example of an animal that has been digging here, most likely looking for some food underground. Based off of the width of the little groove that's there, my guess is this is some sort of canine. It could be a dog that someone brought on the bluff. It could be a coyote that was using the trail system and trying to find some of the animals that might live underground, like a mouse or a pocket gopher. But once you know what to look out for, there's animal evidence everywhere. Thanks again for joining me on my animal walk. My name is Matthew Juneau, and today we were here with the Friends of the Bluff. If you want to help support the work People and Places do with wildlife, you can check out theechofilm.com. But get out there and enjoy your time at the Bluff. It's a great place.